But with a design like this, does it compromise rear seat space or trunk capacity? But even in sport mode, you don't get full power until you push the pedal past halfway. But here's one thing that bugs me. So why didn't they fix it here? No clue. And the massage function, honestly, it's one of the best I've tried in any EV. Not a deal breaker, but definitely something to plan around if you're into that van life vibe. In terms of both comfort and body control, it absolutely crushes the Chinese EVs that use locally made air suspension systems. But here's the part that kind of bugs me. Unlike other cars where you just tap the cover, for a flagship SUV like the G9, that's kind of a letdown. No more playing hide and seek just to get out of the car in an emergency situation. Everything you see, yes, even the stuff you can't see, is also included in the base version. Yeah, in 2025. I guess the designers at Xpeng are still hanging on to the past. Before even stepping into the second row, what really caught my eye was this. But here's the thing, the partition between the rear seats and the trunk doesn't open, which is kind of a bummer. No weird hesitation, no awkward back and forth, just one smooth motion right into the space. Hey everyone! Today we're diving into the all-new 2025 Xpeng G9, the car that once almost sank Xpeng's momentum. Back in 2022, they threw everything into it. An 800V high-voltage platform, dual LiDARs, Dynaudio speakers, dual-chambered vibroacoustic air suspension, you name it. But with 8 different trims and confusing pricing, it left buyers scratching their heads. Now, in 2025, Xpeng's coming back with a vengeance. Just 3 simple trims, a much lower price, and a mission to make things right. So, can this new G9 stage a real comeback? Let's take a closer look and find out. Let's start with the size. The 2025 G9 measures 4,891mm long, 1,937mm wide, and 1,770mm tall, with a wheelbase of 2,998mm, right in the sweet spot for a mid-size SUV. Now, looking at the front end, it's barely a facelift. The biggest visual change, Xpeng has officially ditched LiDAR and the whole camera LiDAR fusion autonomous driving technology. So instead of those laser sensors under the headlights, we now get blank plastic trim pieces. Will this affect its AEB performance? Well, I'll get to that later. As for the lighting, it's mostly unchanged. You've still got the dual projector headlights, a small cornering light on each side, and a ton of daytime running lights, 4 little DRLs inside each headlight, plus that signature light bar up top. Down below, it might look like a fixed grille, but there's actually an active shutter tucked inside. Yep, it's still got an active air intake system. The radar sensor has also been upgraded from 3D to 4D millimeter wave radar, and just above the license plate there's a front-facing camera for the 360-degree surround view. One thing that hasn't changed, Xpeng hasn't really pushed for extreme aerodynamics here, no air curtain vents on the bumper, and honestly those LiDAR spots could have been repurposed for airflow optimization, but they weren't. It's clear Xpeng wanted the G9 to look like a traditional premium SUV with a long front overhang, tall hood, and standard side mirrors. And that's probably to make it more familiar and approachable for most buyers. But with a design like this, does it compromise rear seat space or trunk capacity? Well, we're going to find out in just a bit. The tires, 255, 45, R21. Even though Xpeng has seriously cut the G9's price in China, they didn't cheap out on rubber. These are Michelin Pilot Sport EVs, high-end, performance-focused tires made for electric vehicles. Under the skin, the upgrades get even more impressive. The suspension keeps the front double wishbone and rear 5-link layout, but now every single 2025 G9 comes standard with dual-chamber air suspension by Germany's Vibroacoustic, plus Bilstein dampers. We'll talk about how that setup actually feels during the drive section later. Up front, there's an ADAS camera mounted on the fender, and now the side mirrors have a little blue light that shows when assisted driving is active. Under the mirrors, you'll find 2 cameras, one for the 360 surround view and one for driving assistance. Along the side, Xpeng has swapped the chrome window trim for glossy black, which looks a bit more sporty. Around back, the Xpeng and G9 badges are now done in matte black, Probably the only visual change to the tailgate. The rear wiper, still neatly hidden up top, don't worry. But here's one thing that bugs me. The rear view camera on the bumper sits way too low. That means it's gonna get dirty super easily and mess up your view. And the funny part, on the P7 Plus and G7, Xpeng already moved both rear cameras up higher and side by side. So why didn't they fix it here? No clue. Oh, by the way, if you're curious about Xpeng's latest intelligent flagship SUV, the G7, you can check out our full review by clicking the link up here or down in the description below. The tailgate release is tucked just above the license plate. Once it's open, you'll notice how clean and boxy the trunk layout is. The depth, over 1 meter. And when you fold the rear seats down, that extends all the way to 2 meters flat. Width-wise, the narrowest point comes in at exactly 1 meter, while the widest part is about 1.07 meters. The height inside, roughly 76 centimeters. So yeah, in terms of usable volume, it's seriously impressive. But if you're thinking of camping or sleeping in the back, there's a catch. There's a small step between the folded seats and the trunk floor. So unless you're bringing some padding or an inflatable mattress to even things out, you're not going to get a flat bed. Not a deal breaker, but definitely something to plan around if you're into that van life vibe. Now let's take a closer look at the trunk. You've got 4 anchor points, 1 in each corner for securing luggage. On the lower right side, there's a handy little net pocket, perfect for tossing in smaller items like charging cables or cleaning cloths. Just above that, you'll find a 12 voltage outlet. This car doesn't come with a built-in fridge, but if you want to run a portable one, this outlet's got you covered. Up top, there are slots where you can install a cargo partition or privacy cover if needed. One detail I really appreciate is the placement of the trunk light. It's positioned high and toward the outer edge, so it's much less likely to be blocked by your luggage. That might sound small, but a lot of cars put their trunk lights too low and dead center, totally useless once your trunk's packed. This one's actually practical. On the left side of the trunk, you'll notice a vent cover and a massive subwoofer. It's huge, about 20 centimeters in diameter. There's also a small hook up top for hanging light items or grocery bags. Now, under the trunk floor, there's a nicely shaped storage compartment. But here's something I wish they had done better. The floor panel doesn't have any clips or struts to hold it up. So every time you need to grab something down there, you're stuck holding it with one hand while rummaging around with the other or awkwardly trying to find somewhere to set it down. The opening is wide, but it's not very deep, maybe around 15 centimeters, so it's best for smaller items like tools, cables, or emergency gear. If you're planning a long road trip, I actually recommend taking that panel out entirely. That way you can make full use of the space. Otherwise, once the trunk is packed, it becomes a pain to dig under everything just to grab one little item. The rear seats fold down in a 60-40 split, and you can drop them with a single pull, super easy. But here's the catch, they don't pop back up electrically. You'll need to manually lift them into place, and let me tell you, they're heavy, especially the larger 2-person side. Lifting it back up with one hand, pretty tough. I imagine this might be a bit of a challenge for some people, especially ladies. Now, since this car comes with air suspension, you can actually lower the rear end to make loading heavy stuff a bit easier. Let me show you the difference in height. The air suspension lowers pretty quickly. It takes just about 5 seconds to drop down. Raising it back up though, that takes a bit longer, around 20 seconds, so about 4 times slower. The charging port's tucked away on the rear right side. Now at first glance, it kind of looks like there's no cover at all, which had me like, wait, what? But nope, it's just hidden. Once you unplug the charger, a little flap quietly drops back into place. Pretty slick. But here's the part that kind of bugs me. Unlike other cars where you just tap the cover and it pops open, this one, you have to open it through the infotainment screen inside the car. So if you forget to do it before hopping out at a public charger, congrats, you're doing the awkward shuffle back into the car. Been there. That said, I do like the plastic cover inside. It flips one way for the DC port and the other way for the AC. Super simple, super smart. More of that, please. Alright, let's check if the G9 gives us a frunk. Pop the hood and yep, there it is. A surprisingly spacious one too. You're looking at around 60 centimeters long, 40 centimeters wide, and yes, it can easily swallow a 20-inch carry-on. Xpeng claims it offers up to 71 liters of space, which is actually pretty decent for a Frunk. But here's the downside, there's no power lift here. You'll have to open and close the hood manually every single time. Not a deal breaker, but let's be real, that kind of kills the motivation to use it often. Good news though, they didn't cheap out on insulation. You've got sound dampening material under the hood, which is actually more than what we saw on the G7. So props to Xpeng for not skipping the basics. Now let's hop into the front cabin and check things out. First thing I noticed, the windows. Surprisingly, they're all single pane glass. Even the G7, which sits lower in the lineup, gives you double glazed acoustic glass up front. So yeah, for a flagship SUV like the G9, that's kind of a letdown. Moving on to the door panels, fully wrapped in leather. This one has the white interior, and aside from the very top, which uses black leather to cut down windshield reflections, the rest is all white. From the armrest all the way down, pure leather. But here's the thing, no wood trim, no brushed metal, not even perforation patterns, just two subtle stitching lines. So yeah, the door panel feels clean, but also a little plain and uninspired. On the plus side, Xpeng keeps the good old mechanical handles right where you expect them. No more playing hide and seek just to get out of the car in an emergency situation. This time around, Xpeng has removed the Dynaudio sound system entirely from the G9 lineup. Yup, completely gone. Take a look at the speaker grills, you'll only see Xpeng's own logo now. So if you're someone who really values premium audio in your car, well, this might be a bit of a letdown. What's more frustrating, you can't even pay extra to bring the Dynaudio system back. No optional upgrade, no top tier trim with better speakers, just Xpeng's in-house setup across the board. The interior layout pretty much unchanged, but here's what I love. Across all three trims of the 2025 Xpeng G9, the only difference is the powertrain and battery. That's it. So even though we're in the top spec model today, everything you see, yes, even the stuff you can't see, is also included in the base version. No need to stress over endless options or worry about missing features. For anyone who hates decision making, this setup is a total lifesaver. The G9 comes with soft closed doors, always a nice touch. Up front, you'll find traditional direct blowing air vents, all electronically adjustable. It's not the reflected airflow design like you see in the G7, but it works just fine. There's also an eye tracking sensor on the B pillar, plus a dedicated vent for window defogging. The positioning is way more sensible than what we saw in the Zeekr 7X. Tucked into the corners of the dashboard, you'll spot these gorgeous tweeters. They look super high-end and definitely boost that emotional value. Behind the steering wheel sits a 10.25-inch digital cluster. Sadly, there's still no HUD on the G9. I'm honestly disappointed. Once you've gotten used to a proper head-up display, it's really hard to go back. Now, the steering wheel and stalks, they've been swapped out for Xpeng's new modular setup. So whether you're in their flagship X9 or the budget-friendly P7 Plus, you're gonna see the same wheel. Not the most exciting design choice, but hey, it cuts production cost and boosts efficiency. Up front, the G9 keeps the familiar dual 14.96-inch screens, a setup that still looks sleek and futuristic, but under the hood, things have gotten a major upgrade. The system now runs on the new Qualcomm 8295P chip, which delivers 2.5 times the computing power compared to before. That means smoother UI, faster app switching, and now it even supports cross-device casting and a customizable dock bar. Nice. Right below the screen, there are two 50-watt wireless charging pads, both cooled with active airflow. And check this out, those two air vents right in front of the pads, you can actually aim the cool air straight at your phones through the touchscreen. It's a small detail, but it helps keep your phone from overheating, which also keeps your charging speed consistent, which is really great. And speaking of those AC vents, up front, they're fully motorized and support four-way adjustment. Yup, you can move them up, down, left, and right, all from the touchscreen. They also support auto sweeping mode, so the airflow gently moves around the cabin without you lifting a finger. It's the kind of premium touch that used to be reserved for luxury flagships, but now it's just standard on the G9. Now down here, the cup holders are still a little on the small side, but definitely way better than what we got in the G7. At least they're usable now. The center armrest opens from both sides, which is super convenient. Inside, you'll find a built-in fragrance module that lets you load up to 3 solid scent sticks at once. Pretty classy, right? One thing that really caught me off guard, the center armrest has no lighting inside. So if you're trying to find something in there at night, good luck. It's basically a black hole. You'll need to use your phone flashlight or just start guessing. Now, there's no fridge in the G9, but Xpeng didn't totally forget about comfort. They actually added an AC vent inside the storage box. It can blow cool air or warm air depending on your settings, which is great for keeping drinks chill. And if you're not into that, you can just twist this knob here and shut it off. Under the center console, there's another storage space, pretty roomy actually. You could easily toss in a medium-sized handbag or some camera gear if you're filming on the go. And check this out, it's got a 12 voltage power outlet, a USB-C port, and wait for it, a USB-A port. Yeah, in 2025. I guess the designers at Xpeng are still hanging on to the past, or maybe they just really love backward compatibility. Now, if we look up, the entire headliner is wrapped in Alcantara. It really adds a touch of class. And right above the driver's seat, finally a glasses holder. Huge thumbs up for that. This is actually the only EV we've reviewed recently that still gives you one. Right next to it are the touch-sensitive reading lights. But here's the downside. There's no power sunshade. Yeah, you heard that right. For a flagship SUV, that's a bit of a letdown. Xpeng says the panoramic glass roof has triple-layer silver coating, and sure, that helps. But if you live somewhere hot, trust me, your head's still gonna feel like it's under a broiler. When it comes to headroom, the G9 does a great job. I've got the driver's seat adjusted to a normal driving position, and for reference, I'm about 1.71 meters tall. And look at this, I've got over 15 centimeters of space above my head. So unless you're a 2-meter tall giant, you've got nothing to worry about here. All versions of the G9 now come standard with ventilated, heated, and massaging seats, plus Nappa leather, also standard across the board. Now about that leather, it actually feels softer than what you get in the X9, but just a bit firmer than the G7s. It strikes a really nice balance between plushness and support. The seats themselves are super comfortable without feeling overly squishy. And the massage function, honestly, it's one of the best I've tried in any EV. It's got real pressure, not that weak, ticklish stuff you find in some other cars. This one actually feels like a proper massage. Now, over on the passenger side, let's talk about the glove box first. It uses a traditional mechanical latch, which honestly makes it more convenient to open, but that also means you can't set a PIN code or lock it digitally anymore. Size-wise, it's pretty average, plenty of room for some random essentials. As for the passenger seat, you do get that little entertainment screen in front, and there's also a leg rest, what Xpeng calls a queen seat extension. But to be honest, the angle here is pretty shallow. It's one of those better than nothing kind of features. When you open it, it just doesn't give you that zero gravity comfort you'd find in other cars with full lounge seats. Alright, let's hop into the back. The door panel design is pretty much the same as the front, clean and consistent. But here's the thing, the rear door pocket is tiny. I mean, just look at this. Now compare it to the one in the front. See the difference? It's way smaller. Before even stepping into the second row, what really caught my eye was this super thick seat cushion. Honestly, it's almost as plush as the couch in my living room. I'm even starting to wonder if Nissan had a hand in designing these seats. And not just that, the cushion back here is noticeably softer than the ones up front. If the front seats strike a balance between comfort and support, the rear seats are all about pure comfort. And yep, the rear doors are soft close too. No cost cutting here, which I really appreciate. You'd be surprised how many cars, like the Avatar 06 for example, only give soft close to the front doors and just forget the back. Now, despite the long front overhang, rear seat space actually isn't bad at all. The driver's seat is set to my normal driving position, and I've still got over 20 centimeters of knee room back here, which is super solid. And check this out, there's plenty of space under the front seat for your feet, so you can stretch out and really relax into different seating positions. That's something I always look for on road trips, super comfy back here. As for the seat height, no concerns at all. This cushion is not only super thick, but also long enough to give me really solid thigh support. It's the kind of seat where you sit down and immediately go, yeah, this is going to be comfortable for a long ride. It just feels right. Xpeng put all the rear seat controls, recline, ventilation, heating and massage right here on the rear armrest, and I've got to say it's super intuitive and easy to use. I really like that. No weird menus, no digging through screens, just press and go. Looking up, the rear reading lights are controlled by physical buttons, which I honestly prefer over capacitive stuff. And even the grab handles have these metallic trim accents, which add a nice touch, keeps the headliner from feeling too plain. Now this car comes with 22 speakers total, which is wild. And yeah, you'll find upward firing Atmos speakers both in front of and behind the grab handle. That's a really cool detail, but there's no little coat hook on the B-pillar, and more importantly, no air vents here either, which is kind of a bummer. I love B-pillar vents. They just make rear seat airflow so much better. Rear seat air vents are down here, integrated into the back of the center armrest, and right below that we've got a USB-C port and a USB-A port. Like, what the heck? A USB-A once again? Looks like Xpeng's designers are feeling a bit nostalgic. I mean, I get it, maybe for some older accessories, but still kind of funny to see one in a car this modern. Unlike the Zeekr 7X, this rear floor is completely flat, and this is how an EV should be built. No hump, no nonsense, just a nice flat floor. Love to see that. As for the rear seat back recline, the range isn't huge, maybe about 10 degrees total, which is okay, but not what I'd call generous. That said, headroom back here is excellent. Whether the seat back is fully upright or leaned back all the way, I've still got over 15 centimeters of clearance, which is really impressive. Plenty of space for taller passengers. The center seat back folds down to become an armrest, and there's a hidden cup holder inside along with a small storage area, which is always handy to have. But here's the thing, the partition between the rear seats and the trunk doesn't open, which is kind of a bummer. Would have been really nice to have some pass-through access, especially for longer items. Hopefully in the future they'll go with something like what Zeekr did in the 007 GT with that magnetic fold-down panel, super smart and easy to use. Other than that, there's no rear sunshade, no little tray table, no leg rest, and definitely no zero-gravity seat, so you're not getting those high-end rear seat features here. Alright, I think we've pretty much checked out everything inside and out. Now it's time to take it for a drive and see how it performs on the road. So this test car is optioned with the Black Warrior package, all black exterior paired with orange interior, and honestly it looks fantastic. Really sharp combo. Now let's start with the one-pedal driving mode. Just like most Chinese EVs, it does allow you to come to a full stop by simply lifting off the accelerator. But even with regen turned all the way up, the deceleration is super gentle. It's nothing like Tesla's setup where the car aggressively slows down the moment you lift off the throttle. So in everyday driving, you'll still be using the brake pedal a lot. And for me, that kind of defeats the purpose of one-pedal driving altogether. The throttle pedal has a similar issue. Maybe it's tuned for a more family-oriented driving style, but even in sport mode, you don't get full power until you push the pedal past halfway. And when the power finally kicks in, it comes on a bit too suddenly for my taste. It just doesn't feel very progressive or responsive. I'm personally not a fan of that kind of tuning. Now let's talk suspension. This car uses a dual-chamber Vibrac air suspension system paired with Bilstein dampers. And honestly, this setup is on another level. In terms of both comfort and body control, it absolutely crushes the Chinese EVs that use locally made air suspension systems. One of the Xpeng engineers told me that because air suspension is standard across all trims, they were able to tune the chassis more precisely, unlike before, where they had to compromise between coil springs and air setups. Even when the suspension is set to its softest mode, it doesn't feel floaty at all. In contrast, something like the Xpeng X9, which uses a domestic air suspension setup, tends to have a lot of unnecessary vertical movement, which can even make some passengers feel carsick. So if you care about how a car rides and handles, the G9 is clearly a better choice. Alright, let's wrap things up by talking a bit about smart features. Since autonomous driving isn't available outside of China, let's take a look at how the auto parking system performs instead. And actually, we got a perfect test case. Just as I was starting the parking sequence, another car pulled in behind and kind of blocked the path. But here's what's cool. Once the G9 recognized that the white car had stopped and wasn't moving anymore, it resumed the parking maneuver and slotted itself in smoothly. The whole process was really clean, No weird hesitation, no awkward back and forth, just one smooth motion right into the space. And honestly, this is one of the biggest perks of remote parking. If the spot is tight and you can't really open the door once you're in, you can just hop out ahead of time and let the car park itself. Super useful. And remember at the beginning when I questioned whether removing the LiDAR would affect AEB performance? Well, turns out it doesn't. According to Xpeng's latest testing footage, their vision-only AEB system was able to bring the car to a full stop from 130 km/h to avoid a collision. That's seriously impressive for a camera-based system. So yeah, no need to worry there. It looks like they've got it dialed in. Alright, that's gonna do it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Io, I really appreciate you being here. I'll catch you in the next one. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace!